Welcome back, adventurer. Today's creature has been described as the Viking of your dreams returned from the dead. If that's got the creeps stirring up inside you, then come, pull up a stool at Creature Tavern. A joyous day it must be. The tap's finally installed. Oh, and you're back. Yes, a pleasure it is. Sorry, I've just had this sticky tap for months. Come, sit. Allow me the honour of reciting word of another creature from the divide of knowledge. Let's go with the Draugr, from Icelandic folklore. Draugr, also called Draugr, is an undead creature, but unlike ghosts, ghouls, or immaterial spirits, the Draugr is a revenant, a reanimated corpse of the deceased that continues to linger in the physical world. Some more recent accounts label them as Norse zombies, though in the sagas they're a lot more than mere mindless husks. They embody malice, greed, and corruption. It was believed that any mean-spirited, nasty or greedy human could be set to rise as a Draugr after death. From what I've found, the earliest mention of a Draugr comes from Hans Egede, a Danish-Norwegian bishop of Greenland, who described them in his 1741 work, The New Illustration of Greenland. However, their presence in far older Icelandic sagas roots Draugr much earlier in Earth's story. Appearance-wise, think grotesque and horrifying. Folks truly painted a hideous sight to behold. Their flesh is necrotized, and what remains presents as hellpower, that's Icelandic for death blue, narfull, that's corpse pale, or blár sem hell, and digir sem noit, which, if I've pronounced correctly, should mean black as hell and bloated to the size of a bull. There's even some that look rather ordinary. And by that I mean, they just don't have any decay. Picture beef jerky for a good comparison. Often Draugr will be encased in some heavy war gear, an iron-studded helmet, dulled by rust, chainmail, stiff with the centuries of waiting, and leather straps hardened into brittle black bands, indistinguishable from the skin of its owner. The armour is said to cling on the corpse like a second rot, and where spirit and bronze once gleamed, now there's only decay's stain. You'll most likely find a Draugr in an Icelandic burial mound, known as a haugr. These are canny large mounds of earth and stone placed over the graves of powerful chieftains, warriors, or landowners in the 9th to 11th century, or the Viking Age if you're cool. And lucky for you, many of these burials remain, dotting the Icelandic countryside, often found on elevated ground overlooking farmland or fjords. I'd recommend visiting Thingvellir and heading to Alþingi. That's Iceland's national parliament. And fun fact, it's also the oldest surviving parliament in the world. Another quality spot would be the mound of Þýrithel, near Hvalfjörður. That's a fjord in western Iceland, and it's said to be associated with the restless dead. Your first sign that a soul of the dead might rise as a Draugr occurs even before the burial. If the corpse is found in an upright or sitting position, rather than laying flat, 'tis a warning that the body may not be as at rest as it appears. Once risen, mind, there's no mistaking it. Your scent detection organ will be savaged by the reek of decay. The stench folks say is more foul than any natural rot. Some legends call this odour a weapon, and that alone, it's enough to send you over on your arse and into an early grave. They're also said to wield an array of supernatural abilities, like superhuman strength, and not just enough to perform regular tasks with mucus for muscles. No, this strength goes far beyond that of any ordinary man. So don't be fooled by the bony bits. They can also shapeshift into what it did not tell me, command the weather, and even see into the future. Had one fella tell me, Draugr can enter the dreams of the living, and to prove the encounter, the Draugr would often leave behind a small token for the human they've thoroughly haunted. It's also said Draugr like to curse folks. An example of this can be found in the Grettir saga, where Grettir was cursed to never grow stronger. They could also create temporary spots of darkness in the middle of day, sink into the dirt to avoid capture or defeat, carry and spread disease through entire villages with very little effort, or kill without lifting a sword. Instead, they'd simply shower their target in buckets of bad luck. So what motivates a Draugr, I hear you ask? Well, a few things do. Greed and envy top amongst them. Greedy in death, as in life you could say. They fiercely guarded their grave's treasure, attacking any would-be pit pirates who dare think the dead are an easy target. Yet beyond material greed, lore says they were also driven by a deep envy of the living, a longing for vitality, and the earthly pleasures they once enjoyed. This envy sometimes expressed itself as an insatiable appetite. Draugr, plagued with this desire, would consume the life essence of any human they could get their spindly little fingers on, turning them into more Draugr. In this way, Draugr were by some placed in the ranks of vampire. And if you're a pet lover, you're not going to like this, as it's told that Draugr's malice extends beyond humans. They're known to target animals, often devastating any livestock they stumble into. Folk say they'll ride an animal to exhaustion and keep pushing till they rest on death's doorstep. Or they'll chase them in a half-flayed form. It's said to be so terrifying, it drives the beasts mad with fear. Even proximity to a Draugr's grave can cause harm. Animals feeding nearby will be struck with madness or death. And in the saga of Thorolf the Draugr, it was said that the birds flying over his burial mound would drop dead. Possibly from the smell, or some unexplainable otherworldly force. Bet you didn't expect a zombie to be a dreamwalker now, did you? Well, don't worry. They may be more fearsome than first thought, but they've got weaknesses like everyone else. Let's get into a few. To rid yourself of a Draugr, you just need to do one simple thing. Destroy the reanimated corpse. Though some Draugr are known to be immune to all weapons, and that only a hero has the true strength and courage to stand up to one. I reckon you'll fit that bill easy. But it ain't always as easy as chopping them down. Some lore states the real way to vanquish a Draugr is to wrestle one back to their grave. And for this, I'd recommend using an iron weapon, as they're vulnerable to the mineral. Though on its own, it will not kill the risen. Some legends go a little further, saying you must dispose of the body in unconventional ways. The popular method here is to cut off the Draugr's head, burn the body, and dump the ashes in the sea. Or how's about instead of surviving an encounter, you avoid one entirely? Draugr are said to be most active during the night, and from what I've read, their presence is marked by the glow of certain vegetation and fungus, like the foxfire fungi. So watch out for a glow on the trail. However, I should mention that Draugr have no aversion to light, so an encounter in the day isn't off the cards. Now, these have all been very handy tips if I do say so myself, but what if there's no Draugr in sight, instead of freshly made corpse that's starting to look a little sus? Well, I've found a rather old Icelandic ritual to help with a situation just like that. First, take a pair of iron scissors, open them, and place them on the chest of the recently deceased. Hide straw or twigs among their clothes, tie their big toes together, or drive needles to the soles of their feet to keep the dead from being able to walk. This tradition also held that the coffin should be lifted and lowered in 3 directions as it's carried, to mess up the possible Draugr's sense of direction. And with that, we're finished with our creature for the day. We've learned that you're best sharing a little of your coin, lest you return from death's embrace with superpowers. Which, honestly, doesn't sound too bad. Now that bell means it's last call here at Creature Tavern. So grab yourself one more drink for the road. And until next time, tread carefully, adventurer. You never know when you might wander into the weird